Yeah.
I'm going to call the meeting at 7:05 and will we pass around the attendance sheets? Okay, well, since we don't have a forum right now, we are going to start with the first item, public comments. So the first part of the public comment will be no video and no audio. We're going to run the room. Feel free to set up or raise your hand. Third one will be audio and video.
That's right.
Let's start with the fifth item, special presentation. Since the USAC webmaster cannot be here today, let's start with Cash Representative Sandy and Dr. Green here. I'm here. And feel free to start whenever you're ready. Okay, do you want me to stand up or? Yeah, that'd be good.
So the camera.
Thank you all for having me. My name is Dr. Nicole Green. I am the Executive Director of CAP. And my understanding is to just share with you how we're using referendum funds. And I can kind of just walk you through that really quickly. So I have to apologize, we're a little bit low on our ledger. So this isn't exactly right. We're probably at like 121,000 still left to spend. So we got a little bit of expenditures we still need to manage. But we mostly spend the money in two ways. When I was given the referendum money, my understanding was that we wanted a lot of student participation in the way the money was spent. And so I'm going to kind of go through with you how we decided to spend the money and what we spent the money on. But largely it's been in the creation of a CAP Student Advisory Board, and then also this International Student Support Program, and I've got some plans for the PPP and putting on the money, so I'll walk that through with you. So last academic year when I got the money, there was a little bit of a delay in the start, but my goal was to get a student advisory board off the ground. So we did. I got an intern in the fall to recruit and help me get applications together. And then last January, Rhea Jane, who graduated, was my student intern and helped me get it off the ground. And we had about 9 committee members last year. And the goal really was, there's so much attention on mental health and the way CAP operates, was to look at how CAP operates and what we can do better. So I spent actually 6 months with them going in detail over our operations. And out of that came 3 sets of recommendations that this year then we started to implement a change. So I'll walk you through that. So the first, we had a subgroup of the Student Advisory Board that focused on, basically it was a thing of the people getting into CAPS, the people who get treatment in CAPS, and the flow out of CAPS. That's really how we divided the groups. And the first was on outreach programming and prevention, and they made some recommendations about how to better use the resources of CAPS who really need it, and some recommendations for how to better move out students who maybe didn't need full treatment but needed other support. So their recommendations really had to do with maybe using peer counseling programs more, the GRIP program, the Resilience Peer Network, the Depression Grant Challenge, how to better offer these, how to better advertise these, to have more social media, and to just make students more aware that there's CAPS, but there's also more student resources out there. So I'll just hold on to that, and I'll share with you what we're going to do next week. The other thing that came out of the Student Advisory Board last year was what we should do with the students who are in treatment, better using the non-SHIP and SHIP understanding. There was some confusion, some recommendations about whether or not the students who don't have SHIP should get treatment, because they can only get 3 sessions and then they get kind of in the system and then they can't get out of the system. And then have, just increasing staff clinicians and increasing our referrals out to the Anthem network, because when you buy a ship, you purchase or the Anthem as part of the underwriter for ship and how to get to those community resources. So then the last set of recommendations they made were really about referral. How do we get students out? Because a lot of our struggle is a lot of students come in and then they trickle out. So really our struggle is our most acute students just stay in our system for a very long time. And there isn't anywhere else to refer. So they really wanted to think about what could we do to ease the transition on campus, lower the copay for Anthem, which was $25 every time they had a session. Could we better use convenience of Uber or Lyft to help students get to where they need to go to get off campus, because campus is so centrally located, it's hard to want to go somewhere else, even down to the hospital, people think it's very, very far. And that professional schools that want to use more services, like the Anderson School or the law school, should purchase or help to subsidize CAPS, right? So it's not just through student fees, but it's also departmental spending. So last year, the way the money was spent was really on an intern, facilitating the student advisory board, some of the staff time and staff resources, because I also had clinicians as part of the board so they could tell their story, and some clinical coordinators. So that's how a lot of the money got spent last year. With regard to those, we followed up on a lot of those recommendations, which I'll tell you in just a second. The other big way that I spent the money, at the time CAPS is down about 7 therapists, and it's been chronically up and down for the last couple of years. We've had a lot of high turnover for a lot of reasons. But one of the things was we were lacking a lot of language diversity at one point. And one thing that I did was purchase this outside vendor called the International Student Support Program. It's a company that is more well-known in professional settings like Google or Disney, where they send people abroad and they offer telehealth counseling in the language that the person speaks. They're now in the college counseling business, and they have licensed therapists all over the world that if you're an international student, you can call and get telehealth or Skype counseling or text counseling in the language of your choice. And because we've had so many high-profile student deaths that are international students, we decided to see, and this was a pilot, and they're connected with the JED Foundation to do some research on suicide prevention with international students. And so they were studying, they asked UCLA to be part of the study, but we had to chip in some money. So I spent a year with them doing telehealth counseling for students who are international students. So I purchased this program to sort of subsidize and offer support, because we know that a lot of international students, therapy formally is less familiar to them, but they might take advantage of a student advisor or someone they can call in the middle of the night, or if they don't like something, or if they're just new, or if they're just missing someone who can speak their language, offer support to them. So I have to say that that's another way that I use the money, and we have a contract with them through the end of August. And I'm going to look to see whether or not it was beneficial. We'll look at some outcomes to see if I should re-up with them. But this whole year has been spent on getting them out to the community and selling the product to see if students will take advantage of it. And JED is really evaluating, will students use it if it's available, and do they find it useful? So that's what we're looking at there. So they can download an app, they can call, they can actually get articles and download things from the website. So there are lots of things that are offered through the ISSP. So out of the recommendations of all of last year with the Student Advisory Board, so I started the Student Advisory Board again. I have a new intern who was on the Student Advisory Board last year. Her name is Anusha, who's graduating, and we got a whole new set of folks to kind of weigh in. But one of the things, a couple of things that we've talked about are not that it should be a CAPS Student Advisory Board, but a Student Mental Health Advisory Board, something that's bigger than CAPS. And what do the students really need in terms of comprehensive mental health, from pre-health, from counseling to prevention work, all the way to referrals out. So one thing that we've decided to do is to use some of the money to fund a position, a full-time, probably master's in student affairs or public health person, who can connect CAPS with the Grit Peer Coaching Program, Resilience Peer Network, all the research studies that's happening in the hospital, but also community providers all around the city and create formal relationships with them so that when students kind of come into CAPS, maybe there's not an equipment in CAPS available, but this person could say, but your anthem, which we successfully got the copay down to $10 for this next upcoming year without any cost to the student. Maybe your appointment could be on like Wilshire and Bundy and we'll help you get there. So we're going to create a liaison person who's going to help with the prevention and outreach programming. We're going to connect all the dots and really shepherd it, not just the outreach side of the focus group they gave, but also the referral out process so that we have someone who's helping to manage that infrastructure. We've also done a lot of work trying to work with professional schools like the law school and the Henderson School to help like subsidize and pay for some drop-in counseling for them. So they're starting to kind of pitch in. So that we've been trying to follow some of the recommendations of the advisory board. The thing about Uber and Lyft is the mismanagement struggles right now. But we're trying to kind of follow recommendations and spend money the way that the students have really recommended them. So the community liaison will be the last piece that will probably eat up the majority of this. Let's see if I have anything else. Oh, the other thing we're doing as part of sort of the outreach prevention is Student Affairs has created a resilience task force to look at like how do we build resilience in students preventatively, because we're really good at like once a student's ill, what to do with them, but on the how do we keep them well, and we're still trying as a campus to manage this. So as part of the resilience task force, we're doing a lot of things like a summit, a campaign around Women's Rising and being a healthy woman. We're doing more programming in orientation about how to be a healthy woman when you get to campus, as well as their first welcome week. We're thinking about resilience programming, pop-up clinics, workshops, activities, events, toolkits around apps and materials for self-help that we're trying to do, and then some staff and faculty support, a briefing on how to create a resilient classroom or how to promote resilience in classrooms. So some of the funding will also subsidize some of the resilience efforts on campus, apps, toolkits, things like that, that our community liaison will help to create infrastructure for. That's all I got. Any questions I can answer? Yes?
So first of all, thank you for all that you do and work that you do. Was the funding appropriate and enough for all the needs that are happening?
I think that's yet to be seen. I mean, we just got it like last year and it's been slow going because I really wanted to take the time to hear what the students' recommendations were, given the resources. I think for right now, you know, it's been good. I think as we look to see how big this resilience stuff gets and also the community and liaison piece, I think I'll have more information for you maybe in 6 months or so. I can tell you better. Any other questions? All done? Thank you. I appreciate your time. If you have any other feedback or want to contact me after you think of something after, I know Ariel has my email. Please feel free to email. Christina has my email. Just let me know. Okay. Thank you.
Moving on to officer reports.
I have Ariel's report.
Okay.
Hi everyone. As you probably noticed by now, I'm not at the council meeting tonight. You know, I don't take missing council meetings lightly, and tonight is no exception. I missed the meeting tonight because for the first time in virtual history, I and 2 other students traveled to Sacramento today to do a joint lobby trip with Chancellor Dodd to advocate for state to fund the UC. I'm sure you all recall from different council member reports throughout the year, the governor did not provide adequate funding to the UC this year, and as such, the university is considering raising tuition lessons support. Perhaps the silver lining in all of this is a partnership between administrators and students who are united to fight for the things we care about most: the accessibility, affordability, and quality of UC. Today we met with Assembly members Phil Ting, Al Mura Suchi, Reggie John Sawyer, Richard Bloom, Miguel Santiago, and Tommy Lack. We also met with Senator Polly Mitchell and UC Regent Clark Park. I also look forward to doing a thorough update next week on the progress of these meetings. Last week, our office hosted a couple of incredible events. On Monday, our UK team, Maggie, Aisha, and Naomi, hosted Food for Thought alongside the University Religious Conference and Center for the Study of Religion. On Thursday, our Housing and Employment Director, Naomi, helped organize a tenants' right workshop with Bruin Housing Advocates. Also on Thursday, our Bruins Hired Bruins team, Izzy, Jordan, Emmanuel, Eduardo, Josh, and Elena, co-hosted an entrepreneurship networking night with Bruin entrepreneurs and the UCLA Alumni Association. And on Friday, our campus safety team, Hannah, Gabrielle, Andrew, Danny, and Bonnie, hosted a memorial and action dedicated to the memory of the lives lost 19 years ago in the Columbine shooting. Special thanks to Hannah for constructing all the materials for the memorial, to EVP for joining us with their phone banking, and to Senator Ben Allen who joined us that day. On campus, our staff has been hard at work with DYF. Last Friday, DYF Director Courtney Pratt organized a service trip to the Downtown Women's Center. Yesterday, DYF Director Jocelyn Correa organized and moderated the F word, feminism on the importance of intersectionality in feminism, which was co-hosted by Ignite at UCLA. We co-hosted an event with the Dream Project, where students have the opportunity to assemble care packages for women experiencing homelessness in LA. Special thanks to Sharon for organizing this. Earlier today, we co-hosted the Women in Power lunch with the UCLA Career Center, Alumni Association, and UCLA Athletics. Tomorrow from 12 to 3 in Wilson Plaza, our DYF Director Stacey is organizing a Fem Fair to highlight organizations committed to women empowerment and leadership on campus. Please help us spread the word. Later that evening, we will be co-hosting the Festival of Healing with AAUW, organized by DYF Director Victoria. On Thursday at noon, we will be doing our Women's March and Demand. And later that evening, we teamed up with the Center for the Study of Religion to host WISE, Women with Faith Stories of Encounter and Empowerment. And on Friday, we will close out the week with the first ever Advocates for Women's Empowerment and Leadership reception at the Chancellor's Residence, co-hosted by Mrs. Walker herself. Wait, there's more. I want to also publicly express thanks to the other DYF directors without whom none of this would be possible: Isabel, Kyoka, Bernie, and Krista. As promised, we will be hosting our anti-blackness training with the Black Grad Student Association and the GSA EVP office next Monday, April 30th from 6 to 8 p.m. I'll send out a reminder later this week. Please feel free to accept and invite your staff. I am sure Chloe or Zara will go into more detail about this, but the vote to subdivide the existing jurisdiction of the Westwood Neighborhood Council is scheduled for May 22nd. The Westwood Forward Coalition is looking to get more students involved in our GOTD efforts. So please help us circulate our sign-up form, which you can find on the OPEDP, FAC, or Westwood Forward Facebook pages. Lastly, I want to be sure to give a shout out to Saran and the TSR office for hosting an incredible networking night last week. It was incredible to feel the show in the room that night, even just for a few minutes I was able to do it. Done.
It's going to be my office report. So my office had the UCRYT, CCRP, and the live office just was students going to review PCR mobile app, and we already have a new version of the app. And I actually took a look at the interface, and so they're going to put schedules and hopefully class vendors on an everyday basis. And I'm looking forward to the new app. And moving on to the DC office report. Did anyone have Chloe's report?
She emailed saying that Senate bill number passed now.
3153.
3153, and now Calgary is available for summer school for students to utilize. It's pretty big, actually.
Any proxies for academic affairs? Facility commissioner?
Yeah, so a couple things. Our water audit facilities management has begun, so our water conservation team did the groundwork to set up an audit of our sprinkler system on campus. So the audit will be able to give us more information about excess water use, and based on the information collected from now to summer, we'll be able to install sensors that automatically turn off the sprinklers if they start like oversaturating the ground, and then improve our water systems. And then Ariel captured it in her office report, they got the vote efforts for the West Coast division elections on May 22nd are well underway. So if you want to help us volunteer, there's a form that will go out on the West Coast Board page. And then you'll be added to our review, which will give you more information on that.
Thank you, Zara. Kayla?
So the nomination for Green Base is officially planned right now. I've worked a long time on this, and we collaborate with these guys, students. And we're able to institutionalize $5,000 scholarship for students who have under help water raising crisis, whether it's financial crisis and mental health crisis. And nomination forms online now, and if you reach nominate someone, who have help other students with this. And already then the global dinner for globalization is this Thursday in Kirchhoff, France alone from 6 to 8 p.m. And all the people who are invited to, by now, they already got an email to finish space.
Thank you, Kayla. Anyone from USAC?
So, Ariel, she mentioned it, we had our transfer online networking night, last Thursday, and it was really great. A lot of transfer alumni came out, there was a lot of networking. We also awarded our scholarship winners, those that were able to attend. Their videos and the video submissions, like essays, they're on the UCLA transfer page, so that you can watch them. They're really, really great. So I would suggest that really watch those as well. Stomp is happening this Friday. We're really excited. Student transfer, outreach program, and we need volunteers, so that's, people are from Stomp office and transfer center, we're trying to recruit more transfers for it, because it's all this Friday. And,
Student wellness commission.
Before I go, I know that we have a plan now, so we need to leave early. Do you want to go by that?
We didn't even approve the agenda. We do. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 out of 13.
Quorum is not set based on a percentage, it's written in as a number.
I want to see that.
Does it say two?
Then the Constitution of the bylaws.
So we're still not executing? That's fine.
What are we gonna do?
Quorum's not, we should adjourn for the city council meeting time, make sure we consider to be automatically adjourned that date.
Oh.
So we had meetings where we shouldn't have.
Where is this?
Well, we're gonna have some,
Also, our qualifications, they don't do unemployment.
Where is it?
That's on 915. So there's well, there's
So we can't appoint just without bylaws done? Okay. So.
is that why you need to? I'll talk. Okay, so let's see. Next week is Rare Coffee, which is one of our events of the year. We have kickoff next Monday, where we'll be introducing basically all the events, as well as having some fun events in River Plaza from 10 to 4. And on Sunday, the day before the actual kickoff, is our annual River Lunch Walk. And yes, we realize it's the same day as the Easter Marathon, please come out anyway. So this event at Intelligence Hospital, it'll be in Wilson Plaza, and I believe the race itself starts at 8:30, but check in before then. So if you signed up already, you should come in earlier, or if you'd like to sign up that day, you should also come in earlier. Tuesday, we have a digital detox workshop on Bruin House from 1 to 3 p.m. and a pleasure workshop tonight from 7 to 8 p.m. Location to be Wednesday is International No Diet Day, which we'll be celebrating in Sunset Village from 6 to 8 p.m. Thursday is Rooms in the Kitchen with a tap. Location is TBD, but it'll be from 6 to 8 p.m. We also have a yoga class in the Bird Train from 5 to 7 p.m. And we're also co-programming with CEC to screen connections on Saturday. That's Thursday, that's Wednesday. But Thursday, there's a program called Transit for the Planet. That'll be Bruin Plaza from 10 to 3 p.m. And then, no, I'm wrong on all days. I'll start this out. But anyway, Saturday is CPR. And that's where we certify 200 students for free on the hill, as long as they live on the hill. And that'll be in Brazzy from 10 to 3 p.m. And then we also have a music and mental health event in Ballard from 2 to 3 that day as well. We finished our beach cleanup last week on Santa Monica Beach, I think, and we're on our way to adopting the beach as well. Our strawberries in Sunset Garden are coming up, I guess, and so hopefully we'll be harvesting those soon. There are also Bruin Care waiver applications out on the Bruin Necessities and External Vice President website and Facebook pages. If anyone would like to apply for the Bruin Care waiver, it's only $60 each quarter. Please send them that way, but hopefully they can get that waived. We do have a limited number. We'll also be having a dental fair next week, which is our normal quarterly dental hygiene fair with UCLA App Center and the School of Dentistry. We provide fluoride varnishes and screenings, other dental hygiene materials and information. Then I think that's it for now. Hopefully, let me know if you have any questions.
Okay, so the Constitution says 2/3 of the association of officers in the association. So do we officially have 13?
At the moment, you have 13, so 9 doesn't form tonight.
And the Constitution is section B under voting. Number 2.
So we do have more. We can also approve the agenda. Anyone else? Can we finish admin's officer? Admin's reports? Sorry.
Also mine.
Yeah, thank you.
Are we going to do the agenda first or my officer?
Your report. We can finish the reports. We don't have to.
I was going to start my officer report, but I can say something anyways.
Okay.
I don't have to prepare anything, but I guess just like a couple of things that have been going on. We've been having like Earth Month events with E3s, so we had like an Earth Month fair, lots of giveaways, like vegan food, and then for free registering yesterday, had a lot of fun I've ever seen in my life. And we've been hard at work piloting our new funding project. That's just cool.
Admin reports.
We'll be representing UCLA at the Census 2020 meeting tomorrow. Hayden will be joining me, so we've done well by having the college students at the meeting. So we'll continue to share information as it develops.
Let's move back to item 2, approval of the agenda. Any changes? Can we please strike AAC's referendum?
Say art as well.
Art as well, room level as well, and SWC. No, sorry.
Really bad, it was strike back. I saw what
Oh, shit.
We also add approval minutes from April 10th, week 2, we tabled them last week. Yeah.
Any other changes to the agenda? Anyone wants to move to parent asset?
A motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Those in favor, please use your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 2, 0, 2, 0. The agenda approved. And let's look at the minutes from April 10th. Any changes? Any motion to,
I move to approve the minutes from April 10th.
those in favor, please use your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Wait, who's seconding?
No.
Christie was the first one.
So Ron said second for the first one.
Mr. Ross?
Yeah.
Okay.
Second.
Should we do it? I move to approve the minutes from April 10th.
I second.
Those in favor, please use your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those opposed, abstaining, 1, 7 to 0 to 1. Okay, move on to April 17th minutes. Any changes?
I was like, you're the one.
Does anyone remember what time executive session began? That's the only
It's at the end of the last week.
but that doesn't have a
That's
Oh,
Okay, that's
really.
it would be
because I know what time it ended, because that was announced. It's like 20 minutes, right? Okay, that's how
Any other changes to April 17th minutes? Any motions?
I'll move to approve the minutes from April 17th.
1 second. Those in favor, please use your pen. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those opposed? One, okay. So 7 to 0 to 1. Moving on to contingency. Any questions on contingency programming for this week? No questions? For these. It's leave it all here.
Do we want to go back to that?
Yeah. Okay, then can we move on to SWC?
I have a couple of for PFA solution, they applied for 1,000 and we recommended 1,000. Then the second one we got was from the Women's Wellness Forum. They, let's see,
They requested 300 and we are suggesting 300. We also got one from the Huron Week Council for Squash Bash. And they requested 1,000, which is more than half, but we suggested 310. And then we've also got one from Martinez for the Big Day. And they requested 595 and we suggested the full amount of 595. The total for that. Is 2,205.
Any objections or questions or is there any audience or anything? And let's move on to new business. First item, oral health care bylaw.
The appointments come before the new business.
Oh, it's number 4, we can move that.
It's under new business.
It's under, oh.
You've already approved the agenda, so you can keep it.
Okay, wait.
Finish funding up. Let's jump right in, let's go over your funding. Oh, is it like? Yes. Okay. Okay.
Jessica, do we have the contingency on that one?
So last week we had a total of 28 applications with 27 to organizations and 1 to a USAC office. The total requested was 25,748 and 4 cents. And sorry, the total requested from the total recommended from PICOM was 15,987.
Any questions for her? Any motion on the floor?
My motion is approve the allocation of $15,987.
Second by Simone. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Any opposed? Abstained? Motion passed, 8-0. Moving back to new business, item number 1, oral health care bylaw change by Christine.
So I've got a couple of bylaw change suggestions tonight, but this one is really simple. I'm just asking for our oral health care, which we do quarterly, to be added under the events that we spearhead in the student policy commission. It's something that we've been doing quarterly for 3 years at this point. And it's something that we do with the school of dentistry and the ASH center, which I was explaining earlier, and will be happening again next week. But I just want to sort of formalize it. It goes in Article 4, Section K, 9H, and I believe CFC was able to get
Any questions for Christine? No. Motion on the floor.
I move to approve the oral health care bylaw.
Second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All those opposed? Abstaining? 8-0. The bylaw change passed. Moving on to item number 2, CAP student advisory board by motion.
So this one, I'm glad that Dr. Ray was able to present today. This is sort of in accordance with what she was talking about earlier. So CAPS has implemented a student advisory board, and it's now the second year in the student advisory board. And she actually brought this up to me a few weeks ago when we met about basically putting some sort of bylaw in place so that there are funds in the Student Wellness Commission to put 2 students on the CAP Student Advisory Board. To make this a little bit clearer, we do have a mental health committee under the Student Wellness Commission, so she was requesting that the director of that committee become one of those appointments on an annual basis, as well as another student that would just be appointed as other appointments are made. And these are both one-year terms. I think CRC also looked at this.
Any questions for Christina? Do we have CRC recommendation?
Yeah.
CRC recommend this, and any questions on Christina? Motion on the floor.
I move to approve the CAP student advisory board, second by Dr.
Second.
Second by Aaron. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Opposed? Abstained? 8 to 0 to 0. Motion passed. And moving on to the third item.
Okay, so this one is the longest one. Essentially, SWC has been working to put a new committee in place this past year called Room Necessities. Some of you may have heard me talk about it. But basically, this committee's purpose is to continue the work of us advocating for menstrual hygiene products on campus for free. Continue the oral health fairs that we've been also doing for free, and then working continuously on health access in general and hygiene. You can see on the second page, I believe, a small proposal that we've written up. It sort of delineates the mission of the committee as well as the background and history of it, and then the other things that we've been able to do this year. So we have active members, we have active directors, we've secured future leadership as well. We've collaborated with campus partners this year, hosted our own sorts of resource fairs, and done a little bit of surveying. We've used our survey results to help advocate for our menstrual hygiene products on the bill, which will, I believe, be out by the end of the quarter. We've also done our quarterly oral health fairs, which I was speaking about earlier, worked with the EDT to help students have free room care. And then we're currently also updating all the stickers in women's and gender neutral restrooms across campus that read feminine hygiene to change it all to menstrual hygiene to have some more inclusive language. So we decided that the necessities has sort of a unique space now in SWC to become its own committee as well, and hopefully it resonates with you all as well. Oh, and then I guess we're also crossing out AIDS awareness because although it has been a very historical committee for SWC, we've taken its flagship programs and then sequestered those under sex grades, which is another SWC committee. Oh, and then this is also something that we were talking about with Jessica and Roy earlier to just talk about the logistics of it and make sure that everything will be okay under USAC, and that's all been reviewed and stuff too. And
CRC recommends. Any questions for Christina? Any motion on the
I move to approve the room necessities bylaw change.
Second by Sarah. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Any opposed? Abstained? Motion passed with 8 to 0 to 0. Moving on to the fourth item. It is a, so last week, due to Jackson, to Justin. Sorry, Justin Jackson. But yeah, we like removed from the council. But right now, he has again become eligible to serve on the council. Ariel already interviewed him and selected Justin Jackson again for his position, General Representative 3. And we are here to vote to reappoint Justin Jackson at this position. Any questions?
I just have a general question for us. Was any of this information ever like made available to the student body?
So there was an announcement made at last week's council meeting that the position had become vacant.
I think just an executive
Yeah.
session.
When we came back, she made an announcement on the record that no action was taken, that the position was vacant.
Just that no action was taken, but it was not disclosed what the discussion was.
Yeah. I was just curious, I don't think anyone was informed beforehand that this was gonna happen.
Any other questions?
I'll just say on my part, it was very last minute when my eligibility would or would not be reinstated. So I was definitely working behind the scenes to expedite things as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, at the end of last week, my eligibility was reinstated. So it was very last minute, and I kind of put a lot of pressure under Ariel and Dr. Geller to assist me in doing that, but now things are under order.
Any other questions? Anyone with on the floor?
I motion to reinstate Justin Jackson as general representative.
Any second? Second by, all those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Any opposed? Abstained? 8-0, the motion passed. Welcome back, Jackson.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'll just add, I'm very, very honored. Thank you for those who stayed. And it's been overall a tough year. I had a lot come in my life and be taken away, so I'm thankful that this is one thing that I got to stay. Thank you all.
Any announcement?
So what happened with me was public, so I think I can talk about it publicly as well. So on Saturday at a party, me and one of the candidates for facilities commissioner, Julia, were publicly cornered by members or like supporters of one of like our opponents' campaigns. Some of those people are actually in the room right now because I asked that if we were to meet, it would have to be in a public place. So when it happened, initially when we were at the party, one of them came up to us and started asking very pointed questions about Julia's candidacy, and then mentioned that like he lived on our opponent's floor. And after that happened, it was very aggressive. We thought it was very aggressive. And after that, I sent Julia away because I didn't want her to have to deal with something like that. And after she left, suddenly there were 4 to 5 people in a circle around me, and I definitely expressed my discomfort because I said, hey, like, what do you think is happening here? What's happening? And then one of them responded with nothing, and they maintained that formation. And I felt very intimidated. Julia also felt very uncomfortable the entire night. And I decided to respond by the platforms that I have, like within USAC, and one of them is the council table, the other one is my Facebook. So I publicly posted it on Facebook because I think that like what happens to me, since like it was public, I have every right to talk about it publicly. And I got commentary from supporters on her campaign, first falsifying my statement, saying that it was wrong, saying that it was that experience of physical intimidation was a grievance
and something that I should have reached out to them privately for beforehand, and just discussing comments all around, and I'm just, like, all we were asking for was an apology and for you all to take ownership of your actions, and we still haven't received that as of yet. And even if it was not your intention to publicly intimidate us, that was the impact, and we want our feelings validated for what happened that night, and I still think that an apology and an ownership of your actions are still completely valid. So, I don't know if like we could take this to kind of like a greater discussion of like the toxicity that occurs during election season. I remember that there was someone last year who was actually like assaulted like last year, and I remember like people were up in arms about it, people were talking about it, and but in this case of public intimidation, suddenly it becomes like a partisan issue. Suddenly it becomes like the only people who are going to stand up and speak out against it are people who are like with my like affiliation or with like my political stances or whatever it may be. So I just wanted to bring this up publicly because I still haven't received an apology whatsoever. And I think like the actions like during that night and after that night are just completely unwarranted and rightly.
So, Zara, do you want to give them to speak, or do you want everyone to just give a time to?
I'll see what's happening.
Yeah, so sorry? Hi, everybody. I'm Kyle Morris. A lot of you know me. You know, I've done a lot of work with appointments this year. We worked closely with some of you. No stranger to anybody here. Really, I do want to say that, you know, throughout the past couple of days, or actually since Monday, since the post was made, myself and many of my friends who did attend that party that night were both very uncomfortable and very frustrated with the way that the situation was handled. We felt in any case regarding you know, a legal concept such as harassment to be thrown around, we expected such a serious allegation to be handled with a little bit more professionalism, you know, perhaps with a direct message or anything, rather than going on Facebook and listing our names publicly and potentially having a detriment on the lives of us. Now, we still maintain that the account is false. We do not, I mean, we were there. That was not anything that happened, not anything like she described. And you can see on the post, we went ahead and we commented, this is pretty much our official statement on the matter, that there was nothing like this that happened. Yes, you know, from our perspective, and you know, I'll go ahead and I'll provide our account for the council members. It was such that we were standing, you know, in a different area during the party. We had decided to make, you know, to move ourselves over to another area of the party, perhaps towards the area of the water cooler, not only to get some water, but also because it was decidedly less crowded over there. We just wanted to be able to talk amongst ourselves. And so that's what we did. We went ahead and we moved over there. That's when we noticed, or I actually noticed Zara. You know, Zara and I, you know, we worked together before. I've spoken to her before. It was not an unusual interaction for me to go ahead and go up to Zara initially and say, "Hi, how are you? How are things with you?" We made, you know, some general offhand remarks to one another. You know, just to go, "Oh, like, how are you doing? Like, how's everything going?" Like, "Oh, stressed." You know, the typical college banter when you say hello to the other person. That sort of thing. You know, at no time during any of this was this an organized matter. Was this a coordinated effort to intimidate members? You know, Zara or Julia or any member of your campaign team. That's just a notion that I completely reject. That this was an organized manner, because that was simply not true. We were at this party to have fun. You know, Julia's opponent, Mary, you know, she was not even present at the party. We had decided of our own volition to really just attend a party to have fun. We were actually invited by a friend who's involved in Bruin Political Union. Other than that, there was no malicious intent. And just the way that it was handled, the remarks that were made, the things that were said in the comments section, really was unnerving to myself, members, my friend circle, who have really no involvement in USAC whatsoever. Yeah, you can put I'm involved in USAC, so you can say that that's why this started in the first place. But my friends, literally no involvement in USAC whatsoever, and I think it was because of my involvement, as I'm sure you know, as appointments director, that there was a reasonable association of, okay, they're my friends, they're with me, they must be associated with me too, and they must be in on this, and they must be, here to, intimidate us or to cause any physical or emotional harm to us whatsoever. And also with regard to a couple of the comments that were made on the post, I know a bunch were made by Casey Denton. We did not talk to Casey Denton at all. We had no communication with him before he posted those. Those were of his own volition. Take those issues up with him, not with us. Our official statement is, like I said, the one that Shelby posted on the Facebook post. And again, we just really maintain that there was no coordinated effort, that it was, there was no malicious intent to harm anybody or emotionally or physically. And, at least speaking for myself here, being involved in student government, being involved in an election cycle last year, witnessing the extreme toxicity of that environment, and then moving to this environment now. If you go on my Facebook post, I did not indulge in any drama at all that has happened this year. I have not been, liking sassy Facebook posts or gotcha posts that either members of Bruins United have posted or that members of the opposition have posted. I don't go in, I don't comment, I don't engage in that this year. And I want you to understand that that's where I'm coming from, because last year, witnessing how I was also treated during the appointments process, witnessing how I was treated when I released my op-ed was really sort of striking to see that that was the environment that we lived in, and ultimately held myself to not engage in that again. And that's why I also wanted this handled privately as well. That's why a lot of my friends also wanted this handled privately as well. Because we didn't want to make it a big political scene. We didn't want to make it it's Aneri's campaign for fact versus Julia's campaign for fact, right? It was just us friends, we were there at the party, we had interaction with Sarah. I know another of my friends who's not here tonight had an interaction with you as well. You're very courteous during the thing as well. And at no point was there any sense on any part that we were making you uncomfortable. There was no sense, at least reciprocated to us that any uncomfortableness was being made. And that's why we completely reject the notion in the first place. Yes, anything to add?
Yeah, sure. So I don't know if I need to introduce myself. My name is Luciano. I'm affiliated with BPU, which is the one that held the fundraiser on Saturday night. What I wanted to discuss, the reason I'm here, I was the one who invited them. So on behalf of my guests, I feel that I have some responsibility to take what they did into account and make sure that I'm understanding what they did. And so whatever that affected you, I feel that I have some onus on myself as I'm the one who invited them. Again, kind of laid out our side of the story pretty clearly. So I'm just going to kind of say that the accusation that you laid were pretty severe, and the fact that they were laid in the environment and they weren't handled directly with us speaks volumes. What we're trying to get to the bottom of is we don't want this thing out there that's slandering our name that is a false account. We have a lot of reasons to think this was a false account. If you go through the entire statement that was released on Facebook, you can go through that. She said there was physical intimidation. He was he started aggressively walking towards me. Very pointed questions. I'd like some examples of what that means. Ultimately, what we're trying to get here is to prove that this coordinated effort never happened. And because it's out there, it is slandering our names, and it isn't okay for it to be out there when it's not true. Again, we completely reject the notion that we need to apologize for something. The intent doesn't really matter. We're not intending on doing it, and therefore there was nothing there that you can say that, oh, we need to somehow apologize even though it came off that way. I know you want to say that there's my side of the truth, but there's not your side of the truth, there's the truth. Ultimately, that's what we're looking for, so that you can help us with that again.
Are you okay? Yeah, okay. I'm fine.
I would just say, this is why situations like this need to be public. I can carry on actually.
I have something to say. Honestly, if you made a person feel a certain way or someone feel a certain way, you need to fucking acknowledge that and like take responsibility for that. Because regardless of how you intended or saw it yourself, if you're not paying attention now, obviously you made them feel a certain way. So you obviously did whatever you did that day. I wasn't there obviously, so I can't tell what happened. But I very so much sorry. I barely know you, but I'm like listening to your account and I'm like taking it in and analyzing it. It sounds pretty weird to me that you randomly said something next to the water pool that, sorry, I happen to be standing next to you and Julia, and you just happen to notice her and happen to start the conversation. That sounds very weird. And like, I don't know if you think that sounds weird. Maybe not because you're presenting it to us, but that sounds very weird. And obviously she's very emotionally affected by this. And I think you all need to acknowledge that whoever was involved in this, regardless of how you felt that you went about the situation or how you felt the situation went, you're not the one sitting here like at this table, like emotionally like bothered by this. Like you're more upset that your name is being slandered, which I get that. But there's people here that you may feel very uncomfortable at night and that are here trying to ask for you to acknowledge that, and you're like, oh no, that's not what we meant to do. Like, please remove this, like, save our name, like, what about the fact that you hurt someone's feelings?
What do you think? Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Do you think that it's made us feel uncomfortable, the fact that we have this out there on Facebook, so everybody can see it, and that's affecting our name?
Did she ask you to come up and talk to them?
I'm sorry.
Ask you to come up and talk to them at the party? I asked you to circle around them. You can't hear me.
I'm sorry, can you go down?
Did they ask you to come up to them and talk to them? No. Okay. So I'm confused.
The first thing that was said to us is when Luis over there came up to us, the first thing that he said was, I live on an Aries floor. Why are your platforms better than hers? And asked Julia to justify herself. And then I said, hey, this is not the time or place to talk about platforms. If you want to talk about platforms, you can look at our Facebook page, look at the website. We can talk about this somewhere else, but this is not the place or time. And as soon as that happened, he said, oh, good answer. That's what I was expecting. And then after that, that's when the group came over to us. So I'm like quoting you all word for word. When I expressed that I was physically uncomfortable and said, what do you think is happening here? To everyone standing there, I remember it was Luis, it was Amit, it was Shelby, it was you, Kyle, all of you in a circle surrounding me. I expressed that I was physically uncomfortable and I asked what was happening. And one of you, I don't remember who, said nothing, and you maintained that formation. And you're out here saying that the fact that I called you out on Facebook for doing that is slandering your names and making you all feel unnerved. The fact that I had to go through that and then try to ask for some sort of accountability for your actions, I get comments like, oh, you should have privately taken up that grievance. Do you think I want to beat you all in a private space if you're able to publicly corner me? No.
What do you want from
I want a public apology, and I want you all to take ownership of your actions. That is all I am asking for. Take ownership of your actions and the way that you made both me and Julia feel. Julia was scared of going to meet the candidates today because she thought that some of you were going to come up to her and attack her for the fact that I made the post. She didn't even want to talk about it publicly because she thought it was going to cause problems. So just think about that.
Before I take time to them, I just want to say that I'm sorry that happened to you. No one deserves that. And you can see how it's affecting you. So for that, my heart goes out to you. But like, you're not alone with that, you know? So yeah, I'll see my time.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, you know, we.
Anything else on the system first? I just like, even though when you're walking and the way you talk to her, not even just her, me personally just shakes me right now as someone for color, just as the way you were talking to her. And also, I feel like she has every right to address this publicly, even though that means she's on Facebook to post anything wrong. Because, yeah, she's a council member, but she's only responsible for, I guess, you have issue with fact. We have any question about that. But she's also a person, she's also a student. So she has the right to post whatever they want. And also I just feel like
regardless what, I am not, I can't tell what your intention is, because I was not here about that. I just feel like a person's experience is always valid. We cannot really say that you shouldn't feel this way, you know, because she physically right now is not feeling comfortable, and even me, like as an outsider, like I agree with shaking hand, my big hands are cold right now. So I think you really should make an apology to her.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, one last thing, knowing you, Kyle, my perspective of you is not this situation. It sounds like you were in a crappy situation and that you didn't remove yourself from that situation. And I wish your demeanor coming in here wasn't, I'm gonna win this side, just I need to make amends and whatever that needs to be, I need to do that to make amends, because like everyone has said, everyone's feelings and emotions are valid to them. You can't step into their body, Julia's body, and say this is how they felt about the situation. Just if you lay it out how it's sounding, you cornered both of them, or you were surrounding both of them. That already sounds threatening, just on paper. So I hope going forward your demeanor is not, I'm gonna win this battle or argument, but I just need to make amends and right what was wrong.
so, I mean, you know, at least to that, I completely acknowledge that. Thank you guys, you know, friends here. Thank you for saying that. But I mean, the reason that we've walked in here and that we've, you know, we've sort of pushed back is on the premise of things, right? Like, we don't feel that it was very appropriate to have our names put out like that, to have us, you know, publicly, you know, to have friends and family members start texting you and it's like, hey, like, what did you do? Like, I did not, like, this is not the type of person I thought you were. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not this type of person. I have no clue where this is coming from. Like I said, I'll reiterate again, you know, it was absolutely not our intent to make anybody feel uncomfortable whatsoever. You know, at that event, we were there to enjoy ourselves. We were there to have a good time, as I'm sure everybody else there was, and that was not something that we had intended.
I'm gonna reclaim my time. Like, because just to stop you there, it's not the intent, it's the impact that you wanna like really focus on. And that's what I feel like we're talking about. Like, that might not have been your intention. I mean, from the statements we've seen, that, I don't know. But we're talking about the impact that was left from the incident that happened. So that's what we want, that's what we're trying to get at.
So you're saying that the impact is the ultimate issue here? Oh, sorry, somebody.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying the impact is what you're ultimately concerned about, and it's not necessarily, obviously we didn't come in there with the intent of doing something that would hurt her. That was never the object here. It wasn't coordinated. There was none of that was going on. What we're saying is we can't control what you perceive our intent to be. You don't want to listen to that.
But it's like all that you're into the question you're asking. So like, how can you sit here and say, oh, we didn't go in with an intent doing this and that? You literally asked her specific political questions in regards to the election. So that seems very much to me to be intent to start a conversation with somebody. And yes, you may have known Zara before that conversation, and that may have been your end to start the conversation, but it's like, it seems to me that like, you could easily walk
But
away.
you never assume that the intent was there to try and make her feel uncomfortable. That's ultimately what you're trying to get at here, that we purposely did this, and that's why you want an apology of what we did, correct?
No. I want an apology for how you made me and Julia feel that night, because we felt uncomfortable and we felt intimidated, especially for me to have a group of 4 to 5 men and 1 white woman circle around me at a party. Like, I don't think it's that difficult to understand it. I expressed that I was uncomfortable. I said, what do you all think is happening here? You responded with nothing. You all knew that I felt uncomfortable.
Again, you know, I will say that our issue is.
Okay, we understand your point of view. You've made that very clear to us. This is the third time, fourth time that you've done that. That wasn't the point of this conversation. Zara asked you to apologize for how you made her feel. You can now apologize or not apologize. You have a choice on the table.
Okay.
You
So
don't need another explanation.
could I'll preface it with, we could, just from your perspective, could it have been handled differently on Zara's part?
I think Sharon's good well, it's never the impact, really, the impact that we're looking at right now. We're not talking about intent, we're talking about the impact, we're looking at our right now, it's really frustrating.
So again, like Christine said, apologies.
Okay, so it's really like the choice is up to y'all, whatever you want, how you want to move forward. If you want to apologize, as Zara asked, or if you don't, it's really your decision at this point. And how you move forward is how it's going to be perceived. And people have all these different perceptions of what happened that night by both accounts. So really, I don't think we should get into what should have happened or what do you think. I think we really decide whether or not you're going to apologize for the impact and how you made Zara feel or not. And that's about as much as this conversation should be.
Hi everyone, I'm Lewis, I haven't said anything today. Didn't really want to, I'm not a very confrontational person. But, you know what, I was the one who approached you, Zara, right, I was the one who, and we met each other very briefly, maybe twice, right, on the lounge, when I was, on behalf of myself, at least, I will say, we talked about intent, we talked about impact. You know that it wasn't my intent to hurt you, and I would like to apologize. Just on behalf of myself, I'm sorry. I was making small talk. I was hoping that, like when you make small talk, right, you find something that relates to the other person and kind of go off of that and see where you're just right? That's what I was going for. All I really know about you is that you're Julie's team. I'm not taking this from Mary's side, I'm taking this from USAC's side. This is nothing like that. This is just, I don't want to fan flames. Okay, I don't want to feed the trolls. I don't want to fan flames. I don't want to cause any more of an issue about this than there already is, right? Like the fact that we're here, the fact that we're taking up the precious time to, to have this conversation speaks volumes, and I'm sorry that we have to have this conversation. So.
Is any of you guys going to apologize, or we're going to end this conversation?
Yeah, no, I mean, and so what I really wanted, and it seems like it has gotten there now, right, is an issue I need to emphasize. And I will say I'm sorry as well. I'm sorry that it makes you feel that way. Again, it was absolutely not the intent. And the matter was with the way that it was publicly dealt, the way that it was dealt with, that in such a manner that it was malicious intent on our part. And that's really where I have an issue with you. Right? It could have been a much different approach if it was just like members of the campaign team. I felt intimidated by members of my opponent's campaign team. Instead, it was a longer story, a longer account that I felt did not truly represent the real situation, and that's why we're here, and that's why we're taking issue with it in the first place. Is I don't feel that it represents the situation in full light, and I just want that to be recognized, right? Is that it was somehow like the post itself argues that it was intentional on our part, right? And that's completely untrue. I feel like enough on our part has been said. And I feel like enough about the situation has come out that it can be reasonably said that it was not our intent, and that's just where I'm struggling, right? That's why it's such a big deal for me. It's like I would never do something like that, right? I would never think to do something like that, especially regarding all the experiences that I've had with that in the past, right? Those shouldn't be invalidated either, right? I'm a person too, like you said, I'm a student as well, and that's why this was such an issue in the first place. And, again, I will say, I'm sorry that, you felt that way. I'm sorry that I was in that situation and you felt that way as a result of that situation. But that's like, does that make sense to you? Like, in not like a condescending way or anything. I just want you to know that, we're students too, not robots. That's why we came here today. That's why we wanted to sit face to face with you. That's why I've been trying to organize meetings with you for the past 2 days now. Because we wanted to have a conversation about it because we felt that it was actually We didn't have any intention of walking in here and never apologizing, right, and winning the fight, right? That's not the goal. I just wanted to make it extremely clear that the intent was not there. That's all I'm saying.
You good?
I'm sorry.
You gonna apologize too, or are you good?
Well, here, let me say this.
Oh, no, it isn't.
Luke was not a part of that circle in that. Luke was not in that circle. Luke was on his party.
Well, thank you for your apology, and I wasn't here to invalidate your past experiences, but I am here to validate mine, because it didn't seem very validated on that Facebook post at all whatsoever. Right, people use those same tactics, so. Well, thank you. You can put out now.
Any other?
Oh, yes, Board on Wednesday, every Wednesday, 7 p.m. in the Art Gallery. Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, we're gonna be releasing kind of like a Billy on the Street type video about UCLA's history. We'll be doing 3 of these, weeks 6, 7, and 9. And also, our UC Diversity second iteration is happening at week 6. We're trying to get the power of attendance, so look forward to that segment.
Again, just sign up to volunteer for stuff. It'll be a fun day. Friday, April 27th, this Friday, April 27th. They will need like morning volunteers because students from local community colleges and other places will be coming by the bus loads by like 7, 8 in the morning. And as an incentive, you get a free stock t-shirt, which is really dope. Yes.
I signed up, but I don't know if they ever got back to me.
They'll probably get back to you this week.
Okay.
They just want to do like one major like.
Because they're still probably collecting.
Because it's still open, so they'll like assign you like, you know, what to do, like they'll probably, there's just different opportunities. And then you get to interact with prospective students, not just coming to UCLA, but in UC at all. And then they get to come to campus and you get to persuade them.
Cool.
So I'll make this quick because I'm still but USAC election season, as a very general overview, has always been an extremely toxic and terrible time for a lot of people. It seems that every year, SWC has been working to defend and validate its work for the past 50-something years on this campus, when people put up platforms that say things that exactly what we've been working on for these past few years, and they're essentially duplicates of our work. It's almost as if they didn't even bother to try and do their research. Or maybe they did, which is perhaps worse, because that just means that they decided to go forth with it anyway. I've seen several different examples this past election and this current election and the one before that, of lots of different hot topics that are all wellness related that SWC's been, taking charge of for years, because they try to be very proactive about what they approach. And it's just very interesting to see, things like, for example, menstrual hygiene come up suddenly, when we've been at the forefront of this for about 3 years at this point. Not only that, but our work has been invalidated because people have been saying, SWC isn't the one doing this work. It's other people on the students that's doing this work, and that's completely untrue. I can pull out every single instance at which SWC was the one who made that first step or that second step. So I guess that's all just to say, this isn't the first time. This isn't the last time. But I hope everyone does their research and doesn't take everything at face value, because sometimes people say things that won't be true. Sometimes people put platforms up that also won't be promises that they can make because they weren't fully researched, they weren't fully informed when they made those decisions, and that in itself is harmful to student body, because honestly, it's a waste of time for people. to put in duplicates of work that have already been done. When you could be doing so much more other things. You could be doing like, you could be approaching other gaps on this campus that, you know, no one has touched yet. All you have to do is kind of just think about it. Anyway, that's all.
I'm going to call, any motions to adjourn.
I move to adjourn the meeting at 8:25 p.m.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Any opposed? Abstained? 9 0, so now we adjourn at 8:26.